Hey everyone, this is Danielle, also known as Gently Smiling Jaws, and welcome to my Flosstube. There may be some interruptions to this Flosstube as I am waiting for a package that I hoped would have come by now, but it is not here yet, and I don't want to put off filming this any longer because it is very warm and it's only going to get warmer as the day goes on. So, despite it being warm, I am drinking tea today. It is a tea given to me by a coworker who brought it back from Hawaii. It's a white tea grown on the Big Island. The company is Ancient Leaf Tea. So I brewed up a cup here and toss some ice cubes in it to cool it down a little, not make it really ice, but cool it off enough that it's, pretty easy to just go and drink. And it is indeed pretty good. So that's what I have for my beverage today. The other thing I will mention is that I just got an updated prescription recently, aging eyes and all that, and so I literally just got these glasses before filming, so I've barely worn them. I'm still adjusting to them, and they have the change in the prescription and lens size is throwing me off a little, and you may see me in different glasses as I'm kind of figuring out what I'm going to use as my daily ones, but this is what I've got for now, and I'm currently adjusting to them, so if I'm a little off, that could be why. Let's see, what do I have on my notes here? So this video is Flosstube number 25 for me, and I just checked back earlier today, and August 13th of 2023 was when I posted my first video. So between now and the next time I post will have been 1 year on Flosstube for me. So I wanted to mention that, and I've got I don't have a lot of projects to show, but I do have a finish as one of the things. So let's go through and I didn't do a ton of stitching over the past 2 weeks, but the stitching that I did was more focused on a few projects. It was making progress on fewer things. In fact, you see I was making notes, but I want to check one thing because I didn't make one note that I wanted to make on here. So before I forget, that is okay, just number of stitches on my newest. Okay, so first thing that I worked on right after my last Flosstube, and you can see I have not yet swapped out the Q-snap yet, and what I really should do is when I change out the Q-snap, I should cut down the piece of fabric too. But this is of course the Within a Dream by the Artsy Housewife, and I didn't do a lot more since I last showed it. I did 350 stitches. I think that was mostly kind of extending things down there. I'm trying to remember what the stage was in my last video. I'm not 100% certain. I should have checked, but 350 more stitches in on this, and although I wanted to get back to this, there was also a finish I wanted to get done, which is why this was only worked on for a limited time and then set back aside again. And my plan, when I do work on this some more, is I want to focus on bringing down the black portion of the border on both sides, because the more I can get done of that and move it down, then the more areas I can do, you know, just mostly have stuff that's a lot of fill. And if I do the black area and then some portions of like this kind of brown portion there, once I get those blocked in, then there's a lot of areas that are mostly fill in, and it makes it a lot, you know, easier and more relaxing to do. So when I get back to this, that will be my plan of attack. Set this down and out of the way. Okay. What I worked on the most last time was, this is the Femurs and Fungi sal from Fine Frog Stitching. It was up here, and I did get a finish on this. There we go. So what I put in on this was, let's see, it was 2,527 stitches to get this finished up. And the reason that I was pushing myself to get this done is that the next sal from Fine Frog Stitching, Plants and Petrichor, the first portion of it released today, which is like on here, the first portion, even though I started stitching this after all the parts of it were released. One moment. That was a little tickle in my throat. So I started stitching this after the all the parts were released of the secret sal. The first portion that was released was like all the frames of everything, and so for the Plants and Petrichor one, the first part that's come out is the again, kind of like framing type pieces for that. So I don't know how far I'm going to get in on that, but I want to at least start that this weekend. And so that's one where, as you'll see, I did not get back to my Modern Folk Embroidery sal, but that has so many stitches per month that I just wasn't keeping up with that. But the the portions of a sal like this are much more doable for me. So this one I'm going to, the Plants and Petrichor one, I'm going to try and keep up with from the start. I've got other stuff like the Stitch for Pride that I didn't get in on until June, was it June, July, whenever it had gone back up for sale for that limited window, and I got in on that, and I have done January and February, and I need to start in on March, but I've just had enough other things that I haven't gotten back to that. That one is also a more you know, doable amount of stitches for me, but however, since I started in on it late, I was behind from the get-go. But the Plants and Petrichor one, I would like to at least attempt to keep up with. So goal for this weekend is to start in on that now that I have this one finished. But this is where I had spent a bulk of my time. Originally, I was going sort of in order of the sections as they were released, but then once I decided I wanted to start in on the upcoming sal, I switched from doing section by section to I started, you know, color completing as I work on, you know, color, then jump around to all the places where it needed to be done, and you know, go from there in the interest of you know, getting everything done in a more timely manner, since I wasn't doing it week by week. But yeah, I'm gonna give one more look here. And this is using all the called for DMC, and this is the called for fabric as well from, I believe it's Witch's Garden Crafts, and the Plants and Petrichor sal also has fabric from there as well. So I will probably take this out of the Q-snap, pop the fabric in for the next sal, and then start in. So there's that one. And my next one, this is, I guess it's something I've been thinking about for a little bit, but it was sort of an impulsive start. Basically, there's a lot of the Ink Circles has a lot of the sort of mandala type patterns, like the one of the ones that I'm working on is the Reflections on a Grecian Urn that has all of the, sort of like ancient Greek, although some of the stuff seems a bit Roman to me, in the, sort of like in a reflected mandala type pattern. And one of the ones that, is it Tracy from Ink Circles? One of the ones she's done is called Reflections on, Reflections of Paris. And this is one where I sort of wanted to do it. I had an idea for what I wanted to do, but this is one that once it's done, I may not keep it. I am not specifically starting it like as a gift where, oh, I'm going to give this to someone in particular for this certain occasion and I have a deadline and I'm going to get it done. It's not that, because I didn't want the pressure of doing, things as gifts this year. But I have a feeling that once I have this done, I will probably give it to some family members who have gone to Paris in France in the past. They are going there again, and they are just more into France than I am into France. But I had an idea for how to do this pattern, and I also thought that if I was going to start it, I might as well start it while the Olympics were going on, since they're in Paris this year. And I'm also not really much of an Olympics person, but I have been watching some of it, and what I've been watching is the equestrian events, because even though I don't ride horses, I don't have a horse. The last time I rode a horse was probably like back in high school. There was like a short window of time where I was taking horseback lessons, but then there were some other things I wanted to do, and if I was going to do that, I couldn't do that as well. So but now and then I figured if there were equestrian events, that was probably going to be the part of the Olympics that I would watch, since it's not something that I'm normally watching on TV. So I started in on Reflections of Paris while watching the Olympic Games, and I've got kind of threads all over the place here because you will see what I'm doing. So there, this is the fabric that this is on, is the 40 count R&R Reproductions 18th Century Blackbird, I believe, is the fabric. It is the same fabric that I'm using on the Modern Folk Embroidery Biscornu, the one where I really don't have a lot to do to get it finished, and that was one of the things I should have been working on. But I started in on this, and seeing how this works out on 40 count fabric, it makes me wish my Grecian urn one was at a smaller count. But on the off chance that I do that one a second time, which was my original plan, but I don't know if I can convince myself to do it, I will definitely do it on a smaller count. But so what I'm doing on this is some time ago I had bought some of the silks from Mo's Silks on Etsy, the spools of the what is this, royal, I think it's royal blue, off-white, and ruby, I think are the colors. And so this pattern, I believe, is, I think it's 115 inches wide. I'm not 100% sure of the, or did I make a note? So I divided up the pattern, so there are 38 stitches of the blue, 39 of the white, and then 38 of the red. That seemed to be the best way to divide things up. And then I got sort of all the colors in at once because I wanted to make it sort of easy for me to figure out how far each color should go, and then I started with the white, and now that I've got that in there, you can kind of clearly see some of the landmarks that are in there. And I am not super familiar with all the landmarks of France, so obviously there's the Eiffel Tower, and is that the Arc de Triomphe? I don't know I'm not super familiar with French. French is always something that I found super difficult as far as pronunciation. When I had to take language classes in school, I took Spanish, and then I did not keep up with that either. So although I would certainly say I can't speak Spanish, I can certainly do a lot better with Spanish than I do with French. So on this, I got in a total of 1,361 stitches. So not too bad. And in fact, I was working on this earlier today because I was really hoping to finish up the upper half of the white portion. And obviously the blue, white, and red is for the French flag. And I think that once it's all done, having the different colors may make the pattern overall, it may make it a little more difficult to kind of read as you're looking at everything, but I was okay with that because I figured this is the look I was going for. Might as well try it out. I'm probably not keeping it myself anyway, but I wanted to go through the process and see how things looked. And I also wanted to say that the Moselle silks, I'm quite enjoying working with them. And in particular, I noticed I'm working with the white, and I'll bring this up here. It did have a kind of nice, shiny, almost sparkly look to it, and I don't know whether that's going to come across on video or not. Yeah, so for this one, the pattern is on here. $6,944. So the pattern is about 7,000 stitches in size. So we will see. But if I keep moving along on this, and again, there's so many different projects to work on and things I want to get back to, but if I keep moving along on this, I don't imagine it would take me too long to finish, even if I just get some things in here and there. You know, a lot of times I do more stitching on the weekends than during the week, but with this one, I was working all throughout this past week on it. Not that I was doing a ton each day, but I was kind of excited enough to get going on this that obviously I got a significant chunk done. So we'll see whether I keep moving ahead with this or if it gets set aside to work back on other things. We will see. So as far as cross stitching, that is all that I did these past 2 weeks. I have some other things that are in the works, something that is only partially done here. This is the body and the legs for a little beetle, and I'll put the information down in the description. But there is an artist that, I should have looked this back up again because I looked it up. It's a pardalote. Pardalote makes, I think that's the pronunciation. I looked it up, meant to look it up again before the video, and then forgot. And I think it's, whether or not I have the pronunciation correct, I believe it's a type of Australian bird, because this artist is in Australia. And I follow her Instagram account, and she does, interesting things. And I think it was last year she made available, if you could buy, there was sort of video lessons that show how to make these beetles with embroidered wings. And I had purchased the course sort of as soon as it became available. I went and watched through some of the instructions, but I did not start in. I didn't have kind of all the materials on hand that I needed, and I sort of wasn't ready to order things. But more recently, I did need to order some felt and some other things that we'll hoping to use for another project down the road. And so I figured as long as I was placing that order, I could pick up a few other, colors of things to use for these beetles. So I have got as far as cutting out the felt for the body, stitching it together, stuffing it with wool that I had on hand. Like years ago, I got some wool that was sort of specifically meant for like wool felting, like not as nice as stuff that you would spin with, which I have wool for spinning, and I in fact will show some of that. But I did have a bag of stuff that's like, this was stuff for felting, so I got this stitch. It was nice that the place I got the felt from was Benzie Designs, and when you ordered the felt, there's a bunch of colors to choose from, and you can order like kind of packs of colors, and there are also I think they tell you with each color of floss about the DMC color of it, and so if you're ordering certain packs of felt, you can order a pack of DMC floss to go with it. So when I see if this will focus in here, it's stitched up with DMC that matches the felt pretty closely. So got that, and then this is wire wrapped with stranded DMC floss, and these are kind of 3 separate pairs of legs that will eventually get attached to this. But the legs don't get attached until later on, so they're kind of sitting aside for now. And sort of my next step is to figure out what fabric to use for the wings, because the wings you can kind of like cross stitch or embroider or do whatever you want on them, and I was trying to figure out what fabric. I figure I would use kind of leftover scraps of fabric that I have from cross stitching. And what I'm thinking is that once I take this off of the Q-snap here, that if I have some extra down at the bottom here, I'll have to double check the size against the templates from the class. But this purple fabric might be good to use for the wings on this one, but we'll see. I have to look and see what I've got and how much I need for framing on that. But that is sort of one project that I have been working on here. And then next thing, I know that I keep talking about wanting to get back to spinning, but I haven't really done it yet. And but I wanted to show a couple spindles which sort of have just little fiber samples on them. These are some spindles from Bosworth Spindles, which they use kind of some neat types of wood. And yeah, I've never spun with a wheel. I don't have a wheel, whether a regular wheel or an electric wheel. Although I like spinning, I don't do it all the time, and I don't really have the room that I want to devote to a regular wheel when I'm not spinning all that much. And 2, e-spinners are considerably smaller, but they're also a lot more expensive, and so I can't justify purchasing an e-spinner, at least for what I'm doing now. Maybe if I got a lot more into spinning, that would make sense. But yeah, this is, and again, this is just with like some sample fiber on it, but the way this one was going. But if you are just spinning it, and obviously I am far from an expert spinner, and I know there are different ways of spinning versus like whether you're spinning woolen or worsted or all this stuff, which I don't know enough about myself. But when I spin, I generally spin pretty thin singles. I haven't spent enough time to really master spinning thicker type stuff, and generally for what I'm doing I spin kind of pretty thin singles and then ply, do like a 2-ply. And again, because I'm not doing a ton of this, I will spin onto spindles, and then I have a contraption made out of a cardboard box, which is sort of my my version of a spindle cage, that I can have my spindles with the singles on, and then I can then ply onto a bigger spindle from those spindles. And I haven't used it in a while because I haven't spun in a while. But once I have more yarn ready to go, I'll pull that back out again and maybe tweak it some and go from there. But yeah, I'm surprised, since I haven't done this in so long, that I'm not dropping the spindle more than I am. I'm not sure what type of wool fiber this sample is, but yeah, it certainly, you know, can take some time to get the hang of it. And I know that depending on what I'm trying to spin and how long it's been since I've spun it, I may be dropping things quite a bit. But let's see here. There's not too much more on this, so I could probably push it up. And again, I'm not doing this to say that I am an expert at doing this, or this is how anybody should be doing it. It's just showing the way I spin for myself. So, yeah, and it's just kind of drawing out the fiber. Oh, that's getting kind of thinner than I want there. But what I will probably be spinning next, and I'm not going to do it because I've got, you know, right now, because I've got this on here, but I will show in a minute. I have a bag of some fiber from Teeswater sheep, I think that's how you pronounce it. There's a farm here in Washington that is where I got it from, where they have, I'm trying to roll the sheep that types of sheep that they have. They have obviously the Teeswater sheep and Wensleydale, and then there's also the what are they, is it Valais Blacknose? But if you've seen photos on social media of like very fluffy white sheep with like a black face, and they're very cute, I think those are the Valais Blacknose. And yeah, so I think this place specializes in kind of long wool breeds of sheep, and I think that started to come apart there. So let's see, I can re-get that back in there. And again, this is just a sample of fiber. And then I don't know what my plans are once I do spin up some singles and ply them into yarn. One thing, you know, these days I don't do a ton of knitting or crochet, but I'm more confident with crochet than with knitting. But one thing I have never done is like knit a pair of socks. Maybe I will try that sometime. I think that would be an interesting thing to do. While I don't have any immediate plans to do it, that's sort of some thoughts in my mind of something I could attempt to do. So there we go. That's got it to the end of that little bit of the sample fiber. So I mean, obviously not a ton of stuff on there, but you know, it's a little bit, and that little bit of spinning went a lot better than I expected, considering how long it's been. I think I may have shown, I don't remember if I had shown pictures before or not, but most of what I've done with yarn I have spun in the past, it's like some of my very first yarn, I like used it to, you know, I don't know if it was knit or crochet a scarf, maybe it was crochet a scarf, and I've used it for weaving some very small tapestries, but yeah, that's what I've done so far. So we'll see. But the yarn, or this is the Teeswater roving. It looks like my battery is getting close to dying, so we'll see here. We'll make this part quick. Not sure where the start of this is, but I'll see if I can pull out a section here. So you've got roving, and I believe that it has a pretty long staple to it, so like pulling out there, so it looks like the wool is quite long. So we will we'll see how that goes. I'm looking forward to trying it. So we'll see. This is 4 ounces worth. So on my list of many things I'm planning to get around to. We'll see when that happens. Other stuff just to finish wrapping up. One of the things that was in the back of my mind to get back to was the Free Palestine cross stitch pattern from Jacob at Modern Folk Embroidery that I had started, and I'm really happy with how it's turning out. I just haven't got back to it, but it's been in the back of my mind, sort of nagging at me that I should get to it. I just haven't yet. As far as the eSIMs, I contacted Nomad for a refund for my stuff that I had donated, but it never got activated. I got the points refund, got new eSIM, and sent that to the Connecting Humanity, the Gaza eSIMs place, and you know, they keep posting that they are very much in need of eSIM. So if it's something that you have a desire to do, there will be links down in the description that take you to the various sites that explain how to go through it. So what I've donated has not been activated yet, but I keep checking in to see. So fingers crossed that it you know, helps someone there. And I think for now that's all I can think of, and so we will see how much progress I make in the next 2 weeks and what more I have to show then. So thank you very much for watching, whether you are returning or watching for the first time. I appreciate you being here. So I will see you again in 2 weeks. Bye.